These four taking the door.
Anyone else?
Yes, they are, but they're going to take it as well. The reason nobody's around.
I visited Lucy Connolly in prison. Mercifully, she is now
was jailed for.
She was jailed for an offensive tweet. It was vile, but she regretted it. I took it down immediately. By the way, that Keir Starmer over 10 years ago said when he was DPP, someone in that situation shouldn't be prosecuted or jailed. Yet another two-tier Keir. But Nigel's going to Washington to testify to this hearing about the state of free speech in the United Kingdom. I'm quite sure.
I mean, if nothing like this has ever happened, it's a very scary time. It's a very scary time if you care about free speech.
What just happened to you?
So we were just there trying to stop two people from getting arrested. I don't know what they were getting arrested for, probably a load of bollocks. Prescription of...
The British people do not back down! Let us unite in these actions, refuse the licence fee, withhold council tax and display our flags with pride. This is our message and we ask you to share it with the nation. Protect our children!
I've told you, if you continue to walk back into the procession, you'll be prevented from doing so to prevent offences occurring.
Yeah, but you only arrest on offence. So until I commit an offence...
The UK has just been shaken to its core. In a bombshell revelation, Tommy Robinson has come forward with shocking claims that could rewrite the story of the Labour Party and its grip on power. This is not just another political story. This is a scandal that exposes betrayal, corruption and cover-ups at the highest levels. Robinson's statements are loaded with outrage, painting a picture of a party that has consistently prioritised its own survival over the truth. Every word he utters is designed to spark fury and suspicion, insisting that ordinary Britons have been kept in the dark while insiders manipulate the system. Tonight, the public demands answers, and Tommy Robinson has positioned himself as the voice of those who have been silenced for too long. What he's revealing threatens to shake the very foundations of Labour, leaving millions questioning who they can trust. Robinson begins his shocking claims by framing the Labour Party as an institution steeped in deception, a party that has systematically buried inconvenient truths while maintaining a polished public image. He emphasises that this is not simply a matter of political missteps or isolated mistakes, but a deliberate orchestration designed to protect insiders and punish whistleblowers. His rhetoric is intense, brimming with accusations of betrayal and cover-ups that allegedly extend across multiple levels of the party. Robinson repeatedly highlights the phrase, "they all knew," hammering home the idea that the scandal was never an accident. It was a calculated act of suppression and control. By portraying the Labour Party as a monolithic entity working against the public interest, he creates a stark contrast between the ruling elite and the people, positioning himself as the champion of truth for the victims, the protesters, and ordinary citizens who have been ignored. He delves into specifics, pointing to decisions and policies that, according to him, exemplify a pattern of corruption and ethical breaches. Each example is carefully chosen to reinforce the narrative of intentional wrongdoing. Robinson argues that the public has been misled for years, not just by politicians, but by journalists who he claims are complicit in the cover-up. By insisting that only relentless public pressure brought certain truths to light, he elevates grassroots activism as the only effective counterweight to entrenched power. The language he uses is direct, urgent and unapologetic, blending facts, allegations and moral outrage in a way designed to provoke an emotional response. What makes this scandal so incendiary, according to Robinson, is the involvement of high-ranking officials who allegedly knew of the wrongdoing yet chose inaction. This is not framed as negligence, but as a conscious decision to protect the party's image at the expense of ordinary people. He paints a vivid picture of a system in which loyalty to the party trumps loyalty to the public, and where silence is a currency more valuable than integrity. Every repeated accusation, every pointed reference to key figures reinforces the impression that this is a crisis that goes beyond politics. It is a moral emergency, a reckoning long overdue. Robinson also introduces the angle of media complicity in arguing that certain outlets, often aligned with political interests, have intentionally shaped the narrative to downplay wrongdoing or shift blame. This claim serves a dual purpose. It amplifies the sense of betrayal felt by ordinary citizens and bolsters Robinson's identity as an outsider, exposing truths that mainstream channels are too afraid to confront. The repeated contrast between the establishment and the people creates a populist framework in which he is cast as the fearless messenger, risking personal and professional backlash to deliver revelations that authorities have long tried to suppress. Finally, Robinson frames this unfolding scandal as not just a story of past wrongdoing, but as an ongoing crisis that demands immediate attention. He repeatedly insists that if it were not for public scrutiny, the malpractices would continue unchecked, creating a sense of urgency and immediacy. This is more than politics. It is a battle over accountability, transparency, and justice. The public, he implies, is being called to awaken and act, to demand answers from a party that has systematically silenced dissent and obscured the truth. Every word is crafted to provoke outrage, spark debate, and ensure that the conversation cannot be ignored. As the scandal unfolds, Tommy Robinson turns the focus to the mechanisms of alleged deceit within the Labour Party, presenting a detailed account of how decisions, statements, and internal strategies have been manipulated to maintain power and avoid accountability. He portrays a party where insiders allegedly wield influence not to serve constituents, but to shield one another from scrutiny. Every claim he makes is tied to an overarching narrative of systematic cover-up, suggesting that the Labour Party has cultivated an environment in which ethical breaches are tolerated, excused, or actively hidden. Robinson repeatedly emphasises that those in positions of authority were fully aware of the wrongdoing, yet chose inaction, reinforcing the perception of a willful betrayal of public trust. The repetition of key phrases such as "they all knew" and "it was deliberate" is a rhetorical strategy designed to embed a sense of inevitability and moral outrage in the audience, leaving viewers with the impression that this is not a matter of coincidence but of conscious, sustained misconduct. He proceeds to highlight the human cost of this alleged corruption, focusing on ordinary citizens and victims who have been sidelined or silenced. Robinson frames these individuals as the embodiment of the people, in contrast to a political elite he accuses of moral bankruptcy. By presenting the narrative this way, he amplifies the tension between grassroots activism and institutional authority, suggesting that only persistent public scrutiny and resistance can challenge entrenched power. In doing so, he casts himself as both a witness and a conduit for truths that the mainstream media and political insiders would prefer remain hidden. His language is sharp and precise, combining indignation with pointed analysis, ensuring that viewers not only understand the alleged wrongdoing, but feel a visceral sense of betrayal on behalf of those affected. The scandal, according to Robinson, is further complicated by the interplay of media narratives. He repeatedly calls out journalists and outlets he claims have downplayed the story, shifted blame, or framed events in ways that favour party interests. By naming specific publications and referencing particular coverage decisions, he constructs a narrative in which media complicity is central to the persistence of corruption. Robinson suggests that without persistent investigation and whistleblower testimony, many of these abuses would have remained obscured, highlighting the precarious balance between truth and institutional obfuscation. The framing is strategic. By positioning mainstream media as part of the problem, he reinforces his outsider status and underscores the riskiness of exposing entrenched misconduct. Robinson also introduces elements that heighten public outrage, such as financial mismanagement, misuse of public resources and alleged favouritism in appointments and decision-making. Each point is framed to suggest deliberate intent rather than accident, with particular attention paid to patterns of repeated behaviour. He contrasts the personal sacrifices and ethical compromises of whistleblowers and activists with the self-serving actions of party officials, amplifying the moral divide. This technique not only strengthens the narrative of betrayal, but also builds suspense, keeping the audience engaged and eager to learn what other revelations might follow. Throughout his statements, Robinson maintains a rhythm that oscillates between factual exposition and emotive argumentation. He uses specific examples to ground his claims, then broadens the narrative to suggest systemic issues that threaten the very integrity of the political establishment. The result is a message that is simultaneously urgent, compelling, and accusatory, designed to provoke both immediate emotional reaction and sustained reflection. By highlighting the persistence of corruption, the resilience of whistleblowers, and the complicity of media and political elites, Robinson constructs a narrative in which the public is invited to reassess their trust in the Labour Party and consider the full scope of institutional failure. Finally, Robinson frames the scandal as ongoing, emphasising that the story is far from concluded. He implies that further revelations are inevitable, hinting at additional cover-ups and hidden misconduct yet to be exposed. This forward-looking perspective ensures that the audience remains engaged, maintaining a sense of suspense and urgency that mirrors the breaking news nature of his claims. By combining detailed analysis, pointed accusations, and moral framing, Section 2 solidifies the narrative of betrayal, manipulation, and systemic corruption, creating a foundation for subsequent sections that will delve deeper into specific individuals, events, and consequences of this unfolding political crisis. The scandal Tommy Robinson exposes deepens as he turns his focus to the personal accountability of high-ranking Labour figures, illustrating a culture where responsibility is frequently deflected and transparency is systematically avoided. Robinson presents a detailed narrative suggesting that party leaders and key officials were aware of misconduct long before it reached public scrutiny, yet chose to prioritise political survival over ethical action. This, he asserts, is not a series of isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern of deliberate concealment and calculated decision-making designed to protect careers and maintain control. The repeated emphasis on insiders knowing and doing nothing reinforces the notion that the party is not merely negligent, but actively engaged in practices that betray public trust. By framing the issue this way, Robinson establishes a moral dichotomy between those who act in self-interest and the ordinary citizens who suffer as a consequence of these hidden agendas. Robinson further amplifies the scandal by detailing the ripple effects of these alleged decisions, highlighting how they impact public perception, grassroots activism, and the credibility of the political system as a whole. According to him, every cover-up erodes confidence in governance, making it increasingly difficult for citizens to believe that the system serves their interests. He illustrates this point with specific examples of policy missteps, financial irregularities, and controversial appointments, presenting each as evidence of a persistent disregard for transparency. The narrative emphasises that the repercussions are not theoretical. Real people, whistleblowers, activists, and constituents bear the consequences of these hidden manoeuvres. By drawing attention to both the systemic and personal dimensions of wrongdoing, Robinson ensures that the scandal resonates on multiple levels, generating both intellectual concern and emotional outrage among the audience. Media complicity remains a central theme in this section, as Robinson meticulously dissects how narratives are shaped to obscure facts and protect those in power. He accuses prominent news outlets of either minimising coverage or framing events in ways that shift responsibility away from party insiders. By calling out specific publications and journalists, he constructs a framework in which media manipulation and political misconduct are intertwined, suggesting a coordinated effort to control public perception. This layer of alleged deception intensifies the narrative, painting a picture in which ordinary citizens are systematically misled, while the party and its allies maintain an image of propriety. The audience is encouraged to question not only the actions of political figures, but also the reliability and motives of the channels through which they receive information, deepening the sense of urgency and distrust. Robinson also explores the personal narratives of those affected by the scandal, portraying them as both victims and symbols of broader societal inequities. He emphasises the courage of whistleblowers who risk professional and personal consequences to bring truths to light, contrasting their integrity with the alleged moral compromises of party leaders. By humanising these figures, Robinson intensifies the emotional stakes, allowing viewers to connect with the scandal not merely as an abstract political controversy, but as a series of real human struggles against a system that prioritises self-preservation over justice. This approach strengthens the impact of his claims, providing a vivid and relatable lens through which the audience can understand the broader allegations of corruption and betrayal. Throughout this section, Robinson maintains a relentless pace, blending factual exposition with moral critique and emotive appeal. He repeatedly underscores the systemic nature of the alleged misconduct, suggesting that patterns of secrecy, deflection, and media manipulation have been entrenched for years. By framing these behaviours as part of an ongoing cycle, he generates suspense and anticipation, implying that further revelations are imminent and that the public has only seen the tip of the iceberg. Every claim, example, and anecdote is structured to maintain engagement, provoke outrage, and reinforce the narrative of a party willing to compromise ethical standards for power.